Can you win a chess game by only moving pawns? Yes. Should you? Probably not, except in this one case. There's an actual opening I teach my students where basically you move only pawns and you're going to win a piece, and then later on, hopefully the game. How does that work? Well, let's jump into it. Before I show you one of my very special secrets though, hit the subscribe button because you never know what I'm going to pull out of my vault, aka FunMasterMike's brain. If you play d5 against d4, you're going to have to face the Queen's Gambit. And in some other YouTube videos, I've told you that c6 to decline the gambit is what I usually teach. Now, if white plays knight c3 to pressure this pawn, I am going to tell you to move the knight out. Wait, don't stop the video. I'm not a liar. I know that black has moved the knight out, but we're going to get rid of that knight really soon, I promise you. Now, white might play bishop to g5, and if that happens, notice this is not really a pin because that pawn is still there. So I'm actually going to tell you to move your knight again to e4. Now, in an earlier video, I did show you one cool trap. If white gets rid of that knight, because it's pretty strong, and you take back, almost every strong player I've ever shown this position to has said that white's next move is going to be e3 to develop the bishop and the queen, but oopsie daisy, that's a technical term, the old oopsie daisy, the queen travels to the right, she checks the king to the left, and she's going to win that bishop on the next turn. Now, I don't expect your opponent to fall into that trap, but if it does, you're welcome. Okay, instead, white might play the move knight f3 to defend the bishop. Now we're going to take the bishop, and when the knight takes back, now I promise you, it's all pawn moves from here on out. Right, that knight, we got rid of it. We're going to play the move e5 to discover attack this knight. And if the knight runs away, which is the most logical move, now we're going to play the move e4 to attack the knight again. Black is already doing pretty well. The knight should probably run back, but the question remains, what if the knight runs into the middle of the board? Well, it's one of those rare times you get to break out your pencil and your paper, or rather, I get to break it out because I'm signing my name. You have my permission to move your f-pawn in this position because when you do it, you win a piece. That knight is completely trapped thanks to Mr. Bishop, which is aiming at that square. But we're not quite done, because if white is super crafty, white might find the move e3. Here's the point. If you take the knight, you are probably still better, but it's actually quite scary after queen h5 check. After all, that is the danger and why FunMasterMike does not usually give permission to move the f-pawn. You open up this diagonal to the king. And either your king walks up the board, which is dangerous because white can trade all these pawns and open up the center, or if you play g6, that's actually a blunder, because then when the queen takes to give check, you're actually going to lose your rook. So I'm not really going to ask you to try to defend this position. Instead, what I'd like you to do is not take the knight right away because it's still trapped. So, for example, I like the move g6, shutting down this queen from ever doing you harm on the diagonal. But wait, you say, FunMasterMike, now the knight can go to g4 because the queen defends the knight. Well, we trapped that knight once, and we're going to trap it again. Don't play f5. If you play f5, the knight will run back, and now it's a true outpost. We don't want to allow that. Instead, we're going to throw another pawn up the board, pawn to h5, our sixth pawn that we're moving in the first 10 moves, and yet black is totally winning because we are going to win that knight. The knight can take a rather meaningless pawn, and it's just much better for black in this position. Look at that final tally, only pawns defeating an entire army. If you ever get to use this trick, I think I will graduate you and give you a promotion from pawn to chess master.